Ahoy! Well, I'm depressed.
Okay, so it's nearing the end of the year, and we are roughly 7 months into the Switch 2's lifespan, and it's been aggressively not great. Personally, I'm just not excited about this thing at all. 2025 might just be the year that made me re-lose interest in video games, and this thing contributes to that. Historically, I'm a Nintendo fanboy. I've always been able to rely on Nintendo to support me the goods whenever it comes to solid entertainment whenever the Xbox and PlayStation cause me to lose interest. As of now, I legit haven't touched these two consoles in months. The gaming scene is just so boring now that I just don't care. No games come out that catch my interest, and franchises that I usually hold dear just let me down. So my love for video games really needed to be carried by the Switch 2 during this bland time, and boy has it failed!
It's been a bad year for Nintendo. The company just really cemented itself as an evil Disney-esque corporation throughout the year through all the absolute bullshit polls. Now, Nintendo's always done grimy stuff, but we were easy to forgive because it would throw Mario Galaxy or Odyssey at us, and we'd become distracted because, despite how evil Nintendo is, they're supplying the goods. The Switch 2 has not done that at all. The company that I used to be able to depend on to give me those memorable gaming experiences is releasing soulless titles that are just doing the exact same thing that every other game does and is upcharging us any way that they can.
I bought the Switch 2 when it released, making it the first and probably only console I ever owned day one, and while it was initially neat being able to have this contraption for most, boy did it suck though. It just felt like it took forever for anything to come out, especially when something came out that I just didn't give a f for, so it felt like I was waiting even longer for a reason to justify this purchase. But I just have to remember my original rule. My cue for buying a console is when 5 games come out that I'm interested in playing. At this point, the Switch 2 has more than 5 games available, it has more of a library right now, and with it being nearly the end of the year, this seems like the perfect opportunity for me to reflect on the half year I had with the Switch 2.
So this is a kinda year-in review for the Nintendo Switch 2. Now, disclaimer, I'm not going to talk about everything relating to the console. I'm just going to talk about the games that I played on it, which means the Nintendo games. Because that's what I bought the console for. I didn't buy it to pay for Skyrim again. So let's do it. Let's check out the year I've had with the Switch 2 in 2025 and see if I feel good about my purchase. Here's a hint. I'm depressed.
So on the day of release, I mostly played the Nintendo Switch 2 Welcome Tour. People are harsh on this thing, and I think that's mostly unfair. It's an interactive manual of the Switch 2 with a small handful of minigames to boot. Legit, if Nintendo didn't charge $10 for it, I don't think people would have really been as critical of it. If anything, they might have found it a pleasant surprise waiting for them pre-installed on the Switch 2, like how Astro's Playroom was a pleasant surprise for me when I got my PS5. I'm not comparing the two, I'm just making a point. I guess I'm not harsh on this thing because for me, it's $10, I can forget about $10, unlike how I'll never forget the $60 I paid for 1-2 Switch, but I guess I'm also not harsh on this thing because Welcome Tour kinda kept me entertained for like a solid 2 days. Learning some things about the console's design was kinda cool, and trying to get the best score in the minigames was more fun than I expected. Only thing with the game itself that I think they really messed up on was having these blank mannequins instead of Mii's, for example. I feel like seeing Matt working the front desk or something would have really added that cute, charming, small touch that we used to love Nintendo for. But oh well, Welcome Tour was honestly fine for what it is. It's not replayable, I have no itch to replay it, because while the minigames are fine, they aren't that good. But it'd be held in high regard had Nintendo just had it be a free, pre-installed tech demo waiting for you when you turn the thing on for the first time. Let's move on to the actual launch title of the Switch 2, Mario Kart World. Mario Kart is always a staple on every Nintendo console, so I don't think it's a bad choice to be a launch title, but Nintendo going out, calling it a AAA game and charging $80 for it pretty much ruined any chance this game had. So Mario Kart World is Mario Kart with a big overworld that connects all the racetracks, hence the name. I don't think it's a terrible gimmick for them to try once and see if it works, like Oranges and Spam.
2 problems with it though. Firstly, they're doing an open world gimmick in a gaming landscape that is just plagued with open worlds, so it feels unoriginal and repetitive. And secondly, it doesn't really work.
Driving from one racetrack to another kind of prevented any of the racetracks from actually sticking out. They all kind of blended together, and most of my recollection of this game is me driving on a bland highway, which I already do too much of as a resident of Massachusetts, having to drive everywhere to do anything. Gosh, I miss New York. Really, I only found appreciation for the locales when I manually put together my own cups racing only at their default 3-lap setting, which is something I think is an easy fix for Nintendo to do, just make an update where you introduce an option to play the cups in a classic way, but they don't do it! You know what Nintendo did do? Make the game worse. So something I never thought I'd say out loud was that my best gaming experience playing Mario Kart World was online. I don't like online gaming, but me getting first place in an online match is a dopamine rush I'm still chasing. No wonder I'm depressed. Now, people online also think that the interconnected shtick isn't great, so whenever people would vote for a racetrack, they picked random. They did that because the only other options were highway tracks, but selecting random gave you a classic 3-lap track, and that's what everyone mostly did. Because the highway tracks are lame, they're just a straight wide line. And then Nintendo went and thanked all the people for buying a console upon release by grabbing us, telling us that we're gonna play the highways and that we're gonna like it, and then release an update making it so that random will also give you highway tracks, making it a rare occurrence to have a normal one. Just tell us to go f*** ourselves already. They did release another update this month that tries to fix some of these issues by rerouting some courses, adding elements, and even adjusting the stage select to include more classic 3-lap circuits, which, hey, is great that they did something, but why did it take 6 months for what is supposed to be your biggest release of the year? The open world aspect genuinely ruins the game. The way it's forcing itself onto you at every point is egregious because the open world honestly stinks. The open roam is so bad and empty, it really makes you wonder why Nintendo's pushing it so hard. It just takes away a lot of the appeal that Mario Kart World could have. And it really sucks because Mario Kart World has the potential to be good. It has a gigantic silly roster. It has some really good courses when they are in their default 3-lap setting. Knockout Tour is the one good thing to come out of the open world, and the online is a blast once you get past the boring tracks. It's just so infuriating because the game is one good update away from being really good. But Nintendo just refuses to do it, continues to try to shove this open world down our throat, and it all costing $80 is just unforgivable. It does not and will never have enough content to justify that price point.
So you know what? Welcome Tour and Mario Kart World had their problems. But if you asked me about them in June, I would have glazed them more than this donut. I had beer goggles. I was feeling that intoxicated high from owning a new console and just being excited for the experiences to come.
Donkey Kong Bananza sobered me the f*** up real quick. I did not like Bananza. I'll give it this, controlling Donkey Kong feels smooth and responsive, some of the layers are pretty good, the music is fantastic, and the bonus areas are the best part of the game. Everything else though just feels so unrealized and clumsy. Some people online complain about the game being too easy, and while I won't disagree, but I don't know if that's a bad thing, it's nice to pick up a game that you could just play without having any thought. My problem with Donkey Kong Bananza was the fact that there was no point to anything that you were doing. I go a bit more in depth during my actual video on Bananza, but the basis is that the game is a collectathon, but the collectibles don't really serve you any substantial purpose to justify you going out and trying to look for them. The main thing we collect are banana gems, but they aren't integral for us to make progress. Collecting them only grants us skill points to use in a skill tree, which, hey, sounds useful, right? Wrong! The game is so easy and a lot of things on the skill tree are so unnecessary that it won't affect the game if you purchase a skill or not. So, what's my motivation? When I realized there's no point to collecting everything besides satisfying that completionism itch we have in our monkey brain, I just skipped looking for shit and focused on reaching whatever my objective is. It's again Nintendo really trying to have a single shallow gimmick carry a game. The destructive environment is honestly impressive. It's neat how you can destroy most of the terrain and damage actually stays, but in the open world it doesn't feel fully realized. But it really shines during these bonus areas where we are put into more linear levels. These are great and really push how I think had they focused on making the game more linear and be in the style of, say, Mario 3D World, then Bananza could have been sensational. But it is instead another open world where the open world just feels underutilized. It legit just feels like they throw you huge patches of ground for you to punch and not much else. It broke my heart how I couldn't get into this game, especially because of how much I love Donkey Kong. Bananza just feels like they wanted to show off how they made an environment that could be destroyed and didn't really care to make a proper game out of it. It feels so thrown together, like it's a game based off of first drafted ideas without anyone ever revising it or trying to make sense of things or how it's all supposed to come together. Let me clarify, I'm not talking about the performance, just the concepts. The game is a very high functioning draft. Also, they added DLC to the game like a month after release, and here's the thing. DLC is great, but there's a difference between proper DLC and Nintendo cutting content to just release it a month later and make another buck off it. Imagine trying to buy a pizza, but they cut the crust off and you have to pay $1 for the rest of it. That's what the Bananza DLC feels like.
My time with Bananza really bummed me out and might have been what started killing my enthusiasm for the Switch 2 and gaming in general. Seeing how people were glazing this thing online and giving it 10 out of 10s made me feel so disconnected from where the scene is.
Drag and Drive, or Drag X Drive, or Drag 10 Drive, was a wheelchair basketball game that I think people gave up on too soon. Like at the 5-second mark of the reveal trailer. People made up their minds about it and peaced out. I jumped to get it mostly because Donkey Kong Bananza bummed me out so much I was hoping this would be a low-key gem that reignited the shit-giving part of my brain. And hey, I'll say this, it is fun, it controls very well and shows off the Switch 2 Joy-Cons and mouse controls nicely. The price was like $30, which, hey, for Nintendo, f it, you know they would have charged $60 if they could. My issue, though, is that it's online only, and I have a really hard time trying to get a match going. I don't even think I've ever had a full 3-on-3 match, just 2v2s. I hate online-only games because I'm so sick of being the only person in the world at 11 PM trying to play them. Like, yeah, the best part of Mario Kart World is it's online, but hey, if I can't get a match, I can at least play the game. Meanwhile, here in Drag X Drive, if no one's online, I devolve into a clapping monkey toy. Drag X Drive not having single-player content hurts it so much because there just isn't anything to do besides wait around and hope at least 3 people are online, and somehow, that's a high ask. I wish I had more to say about Drag X Drive, but this portion of the video is already longer than the time I actually got to spend with it. Pokemon Legends ZA, or how I like to call it, Pokemon Legends ZA, came out in October and I've heard nothing but negative things about it. I'm not the biggest Pokemon guy, and it's not for a lack of interest, it was just always a lack of me getting around to it. Shining Pearl was actually the first proper Pokemon game I ever played, and I really enjoyed my time with it. Though it was such an investment that I can't imagine doing it as often as these games come out. Like, I'm still building up the motivation to try either Scarlet or Violet. But Pokemon Legends ZA came out for the Switch and Switch 2, and well, let's give it a try. I have nothing else to play. I didn't play it when it released, but a few months later while waiting for a discount, an 89-cent discount that is, and I gotta say, while I don't hate playing it, but I can definitely absolutely acknowledge that this game is so flawed and has so many elements that are pretty bad. Now I am aware that this is a spin-off, but it's a spin-off that costs $70, so it's a free game. First off, Pokemon ZA takes place in this Paris-like city, and that's all the game is. It's us running around these streets looking for these parks where we can catch Pokemon. These streets are not at all interesting to explore. It's a city setting, but really, a lot of these buildings are hollow, and you just wander alleyways, rooftops, and scaffolding. Plus, the premise of just going to a park to catch Pokemon doesn't feel as rewarding as it would catching them while wandering in the wild. Looking around for a Pikachu in an open world is far more exciting than just going to park number 3 because this one particular spot always has Pikachus wandering around. Pokemon ZA has a day and night cycle thing going where during the evening certain neighborhoods will be designated battle areas with challenges to try to pull off. It just feels too structured and not organic. Oh, you go here to capture Pokemon and you go here to battle other trainers. It's like you're grocery shopping and are looking for aisle 3 for some jarred artichokes. There just isn't much of a sense of discovery. The game is also filled with a bunch of side quests for us to complete, but again, the city just doesn't have much going on, so oftentimes the quests are just go here, battle my Pokemon, show me this Pokemon, destroy this obstacle for me, repeat! But really, what disinterests me with this game is the combat. It's no longer a turn-based RPG, instead now it's kinda like those boxing robots where you just button mash attacks until somebody explodes. And it doesn't feel as strategic or honestly, as fun. It's just random attacks flying all over the place and sometimes not connecting because of the terrain. Plus, what really makes it bad for me is how sometimes the Pokemon will attack you, so you have to be shifting around to dodge attacks, and that just doesn't feel right. Especially when you start dealing with multiple Pokemon attacking you. Nothing bothers me more than dealing with a hard fight, and then some random low-level Pokemon just has to intrude and knock me out. It happens a lot, and Pokemon ZA really starts to feel disjointed. Yeah, the combat is really bad. ZA does also have a Mega Evolution thing going on. I don't really have an opinion. I know others hate the designs. For me, the battles are just weird. It just feels like shinier boxing robots, and the Mega Evolved Pokemon really try to go after you, which again, doesn't feel right. I will say though, the Pokemon are still amazing. You know, they're adorable. ZA is also so annoying with its story. What's the story? I don't know. I spend so much time skipping it because there's so many cutscenes. Now here's the thing, Pokemon ZA is pretty bad. It feels so low budget and low effort that the $70 price tag is actually goddamn ridiculous. If it was $40, it would probably just be an okay bad game. But I say that as a casual Pokemon player. Actual fans seem to despise this thing. I've noticed actual Pokemon fans have been pretty unhappy with the series lately, and with my experience with this game, I don't blame them. It feels so lazy, which is insulting because of how much money Pokemon and Nintendo make from this series. It's definitely my least favorite Pokemon game I played, of the two. Well, 4 if you count Pokemon Snap.
Now there was some debacle with the DLC for this game as well, but I didn't pay as much attention. I think the problem was when they announced the game, they also simultaneously announced DLC for it. Translation, more content that they cut out just so that they can sell it to you and make more money off you. Fuck these companies, dude.
Now, as I said, I didn't play Pokemon ZA when it came out, so what was I doing in October? Well, I definitely didn't give a shit for any of those Switch 2 editions of the Switch 1 games, and I absolutely did not buy the Mario Galaxy re-releases. So instead, this month I actually upgraded my online Switch membership, which gave me all these sweet emulators, especially the brand new GameCube Classics, and why is there only 6 games still 6 months in? and it doesn't include Melee or breaking the rules. Listen, I do expect Nintendo to roll out more throughout the Switch 2's lifespan, and I get that it might be wider gaps since the GameCube didn't have that many titles, but goddamn, just 6 feels silly. Also, I hate how I can't rewind. I hope we can get that feature back in an update. The initial lineup isn't bad. I appreciate that F-Zero GX and Chibi Robo got some love. These are underappreciated gems. Wind Waker is great to have, though I'm never playing it again because it knows what it did. Soul Calibur 2 with Link brought back so many memories. Luigi's Mansion was a perfect choice to be in this initial lineup since it was the launch title on the GameCube, and Mario Strikers wouldn't have been my first choice out of the Mario Sports titles, but it's still good. It's definitely a quality-quantity thing with this lineup, which is also on theme for the GameCube, but this thing will really take off once games like Melee or Double Dash enter the foray. Oh, but they did finally add a 7th game in December, and it was Wario World. Listen, it's a solid platform, but come on now, that was underwhelming. So after Bananza, the next game I had to look forward to was Hyrule Warriors Age of Imprisonment. 5 months I waited for this game to come out, no wonder I hate everything. But I took the time to finally get around to marathoning the other 2 Hyrule Warrior games, and I really liked them. Some good fun mindless hacking and slashing with the incredible Zelda flair sprinkled all over them. I will admit I had some concern that this one would disappoint, mostly from a giving perspective when it came to the story. The first Warriors had all this nostalgia here from the various Zelda games keeping me hooked. The second one was a prequel spin-off to Breath of the Wild, and that had the appeal of being able to play as the champions that you grew to love in that game. Age of Imprisonment was going down the same path of being a prequel spin-off but to Tears of the Kingdom. However, it doesn't have the same characters drawing your attention. Our companions this time are the faceless warriors that we saw in brief flashbacks during Tears of the Kingdom, but now Age of Imprisonment gives them a face.
And there is a difference. The other Warriors games showed me the characters I knew and loved and let me play as them. The appeal was already there. While this one had the task of making you care about these new characters as you play as them, which is a bit harder because frankly, I forgot about all those Sage characters after Tears of the Kingdom because they were the least important part of the story. So with that, Age of Imprisonment doesn't really have that nostalgic appeal to it. The game's pretty much starting with a blank slate.
I thought that was gonna sink this game's appeal, but I'll give it to Age of Imprisonment. It actually nailed it. I really started caring about these characters the game showcases, especially the Construct and Korok tandem. Their arc was my favorite part of the story. Don't get me wrong, the game still had a lot of filler characters that I didn't care for, random Hylian, yay. But that's an overall issue with Age of Imprisonment. It needs to drink some Pepto-Bismol because this game's got a lot of bloating. The character select screen could have legit been halved and I don't think anyone would notice or care. The game is really cutscene heavy, especially in the beginning, which hey, I get they're trying to tell a story, but there were definitely many points where I just started thinking, come on now, can we get to the point? And also, all the little side missions it throws at you. What I liked about Warriors beforehand was how it threw you these giant battlefields and you just had to navigate them, make advancements, defend forts, command allies, etc. It has you doing a lot, and these battles can last up to half an hour, which made beating them feel great. Age of Imprisonment has maybe a few of these types of big battles, but then it floods the game with a ton of these smaller, bite-sized 3-minute fights. And they aren't terrible, but they are extremely repetitive. It showed off how little this game actually has to offer when it comes to enemy variety. I feel like I've killed dozens of Lionels doing these defended territory missions that they kinda lost all their aura. It just got so tiresome being thrown into the exact same map layouts over and over again to fight the same enemies. So yeah, the game does artificially inflate itself a bit. I do want to throw some love at the gameplay. The hacking and slashing is really good. Some of these fighters are genuinely really great to fight with, like Raru, Chia, Artie, Kalamo, the Construct. Zelda is much better in this game than she was in Age of Calamity. And my absolute favorite in this game has to be Minoru. Her moveset has her using these Zonite devices, and it's awesomely creative. My favorite move is where she creates these giant monster truck-like things and bulldozes enemies. It's great. Age of Imprisonment also has these tag team moves where 2 characters can team up to unleash a devastating special attack, and each different combination of fighters has their own unique attack. I really like that too. Makes me think about who I want to take into battle. I do, however, hate these flying missions. They just remind me of that stupid dragon from Doom the Dark Ages, and I don't want to think about Doom the Dark Ages. Overall, gameplay-wise, I think Age of Imprisonment is pretty good, and its only problem is that it throws too many of these smaller side missions at us to bloat the experience. I really enjoyed my time with it. It might be the first Switch 2 game that I looked forward to play whenever I sat down to play it. It's definitely not a game to buy a console for, but if you have the console, it's worth a go. I do wish the game had more time to breathe though and settle in its existence, because this game came out and 2 weeks later, we got Kirby Air Riders. This right here, this is the best Switch 2 game in 2025.
I mean, goddamn, my expectations were all wrong for these games. I had such high anticipation for Mario Kart World and Donkey Kong Bananza, and these games really let me down, especially the latter. Meanwhile, games like Hyrule Warriors and Kirby Air Riders were games I thought would just kinda exist on the Switch too, but they ended up being my favorite experiences on the console so far. Isn't life funny sometimes?
Now, I'm not trying to imply that I didn't care for Kirby Air Riders when it was announced. If anything, my thoughts were a hearty, oh, that's neat. I'm just not as nostalgic over the original Air Ride as others are. I liked it, played it a bunch with a friend at his house, but that's about it. But Kirby Air Riders, gosh, it's so goddamn good. So we got a Kirby racing game, which is good stuff as is, but what really makes this game incredible is the amount of love and heart put into it. Firstly, the character select screen is doing something Nintendo fans have been asking for since Double Dash, and that's giving characters tailored special moves. When you pick a character, it's not just, oh, I'm gonna play as Gooey because he looks fucking stupid. Nah, each character has unique properties and special moves that actually make some more appealing than others to use. And it also makes unlocking characters carry more weight, because when I got to unlock Rick, for example, or Knuckle Joe, the thought isn't just, oh, that's cool, I get to play as a hamster now. No, you're incentivized to try them out and see how they control, and see if their specials and abilities cater to your playstyle. There's more to it than just, is that a cow? It's the same thing with the vehicles. The game has a ton of different game modes, and there are actual advantages to having certain vehicles in certain game modes. Some rides can't fly, which makes them awful in some minigames, but absolute beasts in others. It makes me use more thought in my brain to pick the right character and pick the right ride. That type of design makes things matter more. It makes unlocking things matter. And that's the other thing I adore about Kirby Air Riders, the way it handles unlockables. It has so much for us to work towards and to unlock, and it does it in a fun way. We unlock things by completing challenges throughout the various game modes. Unlocking things in games is great, and it feels so retro here. But what really solidifies Kirby Air Riders' status as amazing is how much content it throws at you. We have the basic race mode, which is good stuff as is, and all the courses are gorgeous, amazingly detailed, multi-layered, and most importantly, fun to race in. We have Top Ride, which is just a race but with an overhead view. We have City Trials, which is like a battle mode. We have the Stadium, which is filled with all these different types of mini games. And Kirby Air Riders also has a story mode that's very much akin to the classic mode from the Smash games, just stretched out. And it's good too because it lets us dictate what challenges we want to do, and it exposes you to different game modes the game has. And it has boss battles! Plus all the customization, from the racers to the vehicles to the settings. It's genuinely so insane how much you can tweak and how user-friendly it all is. Kirby Air Riders feels like the first Switch 2 game that feels like a game made with love and not corporate greed. Just the vibe that comes off this thing is so much different than the vibe that other games have given off. I've talked about the variety that Kirby Air Riders has, and I really need to emphasize why it's so important. I like Top Ride, but say you don't. Okay, you don't have to ever play it, or think about it, or be forced to play it. You can avoid it in classic mode, and it's not a big deal because the game has so many other things to do. Now let's take Mario Kart World for example. The open world is something I don't like, and it infects everything else in the game. The Grand Prix, Knockout Tour, Online, all interject this open world that makes it impossible to get away from. If I hate the Top Ride and Kirby Air Riders, then I could literally play any of the other game modes this game has. Whereas if I hate the open world in Mario Kart World, then my only other option is to play Kirby Air Riders. I played a good amount of it, and the only thing I haven't really tried yet was online multiplayer, but I did manage to enjoy the game in couch multiplayer, and it was a really fun time. Me and my friends killed a whole hour just running back the target minigame. So yeah, I do stand by statement that Kirby Air Riders is the best game for the Switch 2 for 2025. Go Sakurai. It's just such a fun game to come back to and try to knock out some challenges. It's an awesome title, a must-have if you own the Switch 2, and I would say the Switch 2 managed to end the year on a high note, but unfortunately, Metroid Prime 4 Beyond. Metroid Prime, generally one of the greatest video game trilogies ever. These games are so highly rated, yet don't have as much notoriety as, say, Mario or Zelda. But it was fine. These games were always a reward for true hardcore Nintendo fans. A gem that the few who cared to try got to reap the rewards. Metroid Prime 4 was a game that people have been waiting on for so goddamn long. In 2017, 10 years after Prime 3, we got a simple slap-together Metroid Prime 4 logo shown to us, and that was enough to start the hype train. But then years would go on, and we would hear nothing and nothing and nothing until in 2019, we heard that Nintendo wasn't happy with how the game was coming along and they were starting over with a new developer. The wait went on and on and on. We did get Metroid Dread in 2025, and it was an awesome revival of 2D Metroid, which gave me confidence that Nintendo knew what they were doing with Metroid and that Prime 4 was going to deliver. And then the first trailer dropped, and it looked so fucking good. Oh my god, it's finally coming. But then, A direct was dropped in September that showed more of Metroid Prime 4 and it featured Samus's new motorcycle and showed her riding in a big open desert.
Oh no. You're kidding me. It's another open world!
Why can't they off already with this? They thought showing me Samus's brand new vroom vroom would distract me from watching her drive in the desert? See, I mentally accepted that Metroid Prime 4 was going to disappoint, but then it got worse. A few weeks before launch, they released a showcase of some gameplay, and what was predominantly featured was that we would get NPC allies. Most notably, this cringy cliche Miles dork who apparently went to school to get his degree in not shutting the up!
You heard that? That was my sanity.
That's it. Nothing can hurt me anymore. It was at this point I gave up and lost all interest. The game came out in early December. People online were critical of the open world because it was just a bunch of empty space, which is a surprise to nobody! The NPC characters are not only annoying, but they also flood the story.
Sick.
People online did praise a few sections that felt like classic Metroid Prime, which to me is again another situation with Bananza where the potential to be a good game was right there! But they had to do this open world garbage. You might have noticed I'm giving a lot of online opinions rather than my own, and it's simply because I refuse to own this garbage. I'm someone who buys games that people say are bad. I'm someone who's bought games that I know are bad. Hell, I've bought the same game 15 times. I bought games that I know I'll never play. But I refuse to buy Metroid Prime 4. I've always had a personal principle to never give definitive opinions on shows or movies I haven't watched or games I haven't played. But this makes me break my morals. I hate this, I think it blows, and it legitimately has killed my interest in video games. Seeing that the industry has no integrity or creativity anymore, I can't bring myself to want to waste any more of my energy or care into these things. This game broke me without me even having to pick up a controller.
Well, wasn't that fun? And that's the Switch 2 in 2025. It's not that great.
A lot of the games that came out aren't too bad or as bad as I or others have said, but there would be external circumstances sabotaging a lot of these releases, and most of the time, it'd be the cost. Like Nintendo Switch 2 Welcome Tour genuinely would have been decently received had it been a free tech demo waiting for you on the Switch 2. Mario Kart World is a solid racing game that does have an overworld theme that is a bit overbearing, but the fact that it's the most expensive Nintendo game ever is super annoying and unforgivable. But hey, the online is still pretty good. Donkey Kong Bananza is something people are liking now, but I do feel like will age poorly once people start to critically reanalyze it. Dry X Drive was good for the 10 minutes you could find a match. Pokemon Legends ZA is honestly just a bad, okay Pokemon spin-off that would have been tolerable if it didn't cost $70 Hyrule Warriors Age of Imprisonment is honestly a pretty good Warriors game. Kirby Air Riders is genuinely perfect, and Metroid Prime 4 Beyond makes me sad to even think about it. But you see, if you took a screenshot of all these games we'd have at the end of the year and sent it to my past self, I would have thought, holy shit, what a first year lineup! A new Mario Kart, a 3D Donkey Kong, Hyrule Warriors, a Pokemon game, the long-awaited Metroid Prime 4, a sequel to Kirby Air Ride, a tech demo, a new small IP, and a GameCube Classics. Like, this should have been one of the best first years for a console ever! Yet here we are at the end of the year, still debating if the Switch 2 is worth a purchase or not. Kirby Air Riders was the best game of 2025 for the Switch 2, and it shouldn't have been. Which isn't a knock on Air Riders, but more of a statement on how everything else underperformed. Which is my definitive statement for the year. The Switch 2 underperformed.
Do I feel good about the Switch 2? No. Now, I don't want to be a doomer, but based on how Mario Kart World, Donkey Kong Bananza, and Metroid Prime 4 turned out, it doesn't leave me too optimistic about what lies ahead. I feel like the gaming scene is in rough shape because it seems to be prioritizing the wrong things and does not care to be creative or innovative anymore. It all just feels so empty and wants our fucking money, which makes it hard to care about anything. I don't want to sound like an old head. Back in my day, games used to be better. But you know what? Fuck it, they were! Oh, life is changing. Everything that's good becomes bad. There's ads on Peacock now. You know those people who say don't live in the past? Fuck those people. Cause the present is much better? You know what? I'm over it. If getting with the times just means embracing mediocrity, then I don't want to do it. Embrace the past. Embrace when things were better. Let's hope for a better 2026.